Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 43 of Cutscene Convos. This week
Yes.
we've got a character profile on Namora. We'll be covering Andor, both episode 11 and 12. We'll be discussing Black Panther, as well as it's becoming a very common segment now of the Nerd News Network, where we'll be covering Spider-Man, Blade, Batman, and Fantastic Four, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got Ultron versus Kingpin for this week's Superhero Showdown. But before all of that,
We're back.
Ori, how's your fortnight been?
How's my fortnight been? I haven't played Fortnite in years, Connor. What are you on about?
Fortnite Battle Pass.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'm trying to remember what the fuck the past 2 weeks have been.
Hell.
Well, yeah, for you particularly, but I've pretty chill for me. With work, I'm really trying to, like, it's just been a lot of kind of odd projects here and there, little ones.
I mean, you're middle of the season now, isn't it? So it's just
Yeah,
like
seasons have
little
started.
things that need to be done.
Obviously we're kind of on the run up to Christmas now, essentially. Brain's slowly trying to get in gear for that. Like this week, having people ask me, "Have you got Christmas ideas?" And I'm like, "Huh, Christmas?"
I imagine work's also been quite quiet this week because they're all getting ready for Thanksgiving and stuff, so there won't be as much coming through, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, as we're recording this, it's Thanksgiving in America, so today's been pretty much dead.
They're all spending time with family. You're just like,
day off.
What's up?
So yeah, that's been cool. But yeah, just small things. I think the women's carball league, which is for Rocket League.
Do you guys have a ladies Rocket League team?
We don't, but so it's not wildly, like, we don't kind of shout about the fact that KCP technically runs the women's carball league.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's
cool.
It's like is that why you don't have a team, because you're like running the league? So it'd be a bit
little
weird
bit. We had one last season, but then this season we just chose not to. But like they've kind of stepped it up this season, and I did all the broadcast package for it, so that all kicked off. It started a few weeks back, but the broadcast only started last week, so that's been cool. That project, kind of like seeing that kind of wrapped up, I guess, is cool. Other than that, work's been pretty chill. I've just been gaming, playing a lot of Valorant and League. Got back into League. Worlds has ruined me.
We need to do the stupid thing, and you need to download Warzone, and we need to play Warzone.
So
while there is still a chance that we can have fun on it.
Well, my other group of mates, they've been playing Warzone and trying to get me to download it, and I'm of the attitude of I'm waiting a few weeks for bugs and the broken shit to be fixed.
If you don't get in quick enough, all the sweats are going to take over and it won't be fun anymore.
That's just COD in general. That happened a week into the game, Connor. What are you on about? Yeah, no, Warzone is tempting me just purely for the Modern Warfare 2 locations. That's purely the only reason I want to try Warzone 2.
I get that.
But yeah, COD's down the list of games to play. I may be about to get back into Tarkov soon.
Okay, see, now a long time ago, you promised you'd teach me how to play Tarkov.
I did.
And we both need to get back into streaming.
Yeah, I don't know how my PC will like me, but
oh yeah, Tarkov's really.
I used to stream it, so
yeah,
it'll manage.
Like, that could be hilarious content.
The reason Tarkov might be back on the cards is that they're finally, after it must have been like 2 years of teasing now, Streets of Tarkov,
the new map. Oh, okay.
Is apparently with the next wipe, which is before the end of the year.
So like, other than pure like my lack of gun skill in the game compared to everyone else, which won't be as bad as it would have originally now because I've played mouse and keyboard games.
Yeah.
Now. This map will be fair game.
To a certain degree, yeah. People will have no fucking clue where they're going.
Yeah.
And it's an urban, close combat, inside buildings.
So we cod it up.
Well, people are going to be lost as fuck is what's going to happen. People are going to be like, this building seems familiar. Oh, wait, it's just like the other 5 that I've just been in.
Which building are you in? The one with the stairs? Oh, yes, I'm in that one.
I'm in the
2 miles
penthouse
apart.
apartment. So am I. No, you're not. Oh, we're in different apartment buildings.
Many team kills.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some team killing in that. But yeah, that I'm part of
There's an
me
inkling.
is like, don't go back to Tarkov. You've escaped it. But then part of me is like, but Streets of
You
Tarkov's
never
finally
escape.
here. It's finally here. So that could happen. But yeah, that's been my fortnight. How's your hell week been?
So
Hell weeks.
we recorded what it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
And then on the Friday I was getting up to go watch Black Panther,
Yes.
then go to Southend to have dinner with Josh, who's been on the podcast before. And then the weekend we were going to be in Southend to see Rob Beckett on the Saturday, come back up on the Sunday.
Yeah.
On the Friday, I woke up with a migraine, which is very uncommon for me. But I have had them before, but I haven't had one for a number of years. So I was like, "That's shit."
Yeah.
Got up, had a shower, felt a bit better, had some painkillers, and it was easing a little bit. So I was like, "Okay, cool, let's crack on." Went to the cinema, had a great time at Black Panther. Got in the car, then took what should be like an hour and 20-minute drive, and drove for 2 and a bit hours to get to our hotel because of traffic. Went out for dinner with Josh, had a lovely weekend. It was great. Came back on Sunday, everything normal. Me and my girlfriend going to work on the Monday. And she comes home 3 o'clock ish. Because she's got a migraine. Which is really uncommon for her. And hers was really bad in that she could barely see straight. As a result of that, she obviously got a taxi instead of driving home because she couldn't see. And because obviously being in a taxi as a woman without being able to see is a very scary experience, I'm sure. She FaceTimed her mother during it. And her mother said, "Oh, when I had COVID, the first symptom I had was a horrific headache. You should do a test when you get home." So she did.
Yeah.
Big red line.
Big red line.
I work mainly by myself, so I just kind of made an extra effort to stay in my workshop until the end of the day, because by this time it was like 4:15. Drove home, came straight upstairs, did a test, also big red line. So then we didn't leave this room until Sunday.
Sounds like my normal life.
We both really struggled. Getting from my bed there to my desk chair just to have a different view of the room was exhausting.
Jeez.
You know me, Hori. I'm like a 16 to 18 hours kind of awake kind of guy.
Yeah.
I was getting up at midday, going to bed at midnight, which is much later than I normally get up and earlier than I normally go to bed, and still being floored. I've never had any breathing issues, but I was really struggling. It was absolute shit. The worst bit by far though is that I've been a smug arsehole about the fact that I am built different and would never get COVID, and then when I got COVID, 3 years later, which is even worse.
I'm pretty sure. Were you the last one in our group to get it?
I don't think West has had it.
I thought he had, or maybe he hasn't. But for
I'm
a long time,
definitely one of the last.
For a long time, it was like me, you, and possibly West. Then I got it, didn't I? Like 5 months,
earlier this year.
Yeah, like 6-7 months back. And I now, like, thinking about it back, I had like a headache and a fever the first day. Realized, oh, I have COVID. Then I was, thankfully, touch wood, I was okay, and other than like I had a bad cough, which
yeah. My cough is still partially here.
Which that fucked me by I just couldn't sleep. So I felt shit that way. But yeah,
I also lost a fair bit of taste.
I see. I'm thankfully I didn't do none of that.
My taste has basically already fully come back. I didn't like lose the ability to taste. It was just like one flavor would overpower everything else.
Mm.
Even that overpowered flavor was really muted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be like having, I don't know, what did we have for dinner? Like a tomato pasta kind of dish.
Yep.
All I can taste is tomato, but like really watered down tomato. And it's just like, ugh,
Sucks. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
But
rough
all
week.
over it now, all better, back to work, which has just been pure chaos because I was off for a week, then out ill for a week, and like
Yeah.
I'm the only person who does my job. So when I got back in, it wasn't like everyone else had been covering for me, and I just had to get caught up. I had 2 weeks of work to catch up on.
Oofed.
So yeah, we're having a great old time over here. You know, just after one of the best years I could have possibly conceived, the last 6 weeks have been bitch you thought.
Yeah, it's like,
Um, yeah,
gotta
yeah,
end
yeah,
on a bang.
yeah, 100%. Um, but it's okay because it is coming home. Anyway,
It's probably not though, is it?
it absolutely is. Um,
Nah, it's going to
because
Japan.
because because America didn't send their best athletes, who are a bunch of NFL players who couldn't kick a ball. So that's why it's coming home. Anyway, who is Namora?
It's a good
Now,
question.
if you watch Black Panther, you will have seen Namora. Whether you realised you saw her or not is different. She was named as Namora a couple of times, but
Mm.
she wasn't a main character. She wasn't a complete side character. You might have kind of missed her or not. Anyway, she was in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about her a little bit. So Namora, aka Aquaria Nautica Neptuna, which is
What
just
a
a fucking
name.
phenomenal name. Yeah, yeah, yeah. First appeared in Marvel Mystery Comics number 82, all the way back in April 1947.
It's pretty old.
Like her cousin Namor, she is the result of an Atlantean man and a woman having a child. She was nicknamed Namora in honor of her cousin. Obviously, that's the comic reason. In reality, it's because she was the female version of Namor, so they wanted the names to be similar.
Classic.
While Namor wasn't initially fond of Namora as they were growing up, because he's a smug arsehole in the comics for a lot of the time,
Yeah, and kids are
um,
dicks.
he grew closer to her throughout childhood after his hubris left him in danger, and she was the only one strong enough to save him on while they were exploring a sunken ship.
Ah.
After discovering her human heritage and her father's death, she spent some time on the surface to learn more about that
Hmm.
side of her heritage. Um, while on the surface, she would occasionally appear to help Namor on his adventures before she would go out on her own to have her own adventures. This is where it gets really interesting to me, though, and I'm going to see if you pick up on this. Shortly after she became a spy for America, to find communists within America, the comics was from the early 50s, so that's why that's the thing.
Right.
She did odd jobs until she then joined Ulysses Bloodstone's Monster Hunters. Is that a name you recognise, Mr. Zontal?
That sounds like our little special we had recently.
It does, doesn't it? It's crazy how these things line up within like
A
what
few
would it have
months.
been? A
A
month.
month.
It was
A
beginning
month.
of
Yeah.
October, beginning of November. Yeah, like literally a month. Interesting, isn't it? Then after an accident, she was frozen in ice for many years before Jimmy Woo and the Atlantis Foundation woke her from her slumber to join them. And that's where we leave her, working with the Atlas Foundation, kind of without trying to belittle it, but trying to keep it simple. They're essentially like nautical Avengers.
Got you.
Yeah, like that's the best way I can really think of. Obviously, they like help people on land as well, but they're kind of put together with their theme being water. And
Protecting
they're
the
just
oceans.
they're another team. Yeah, they're you know what it's like. We got the X-Men and the Avengers, Atlas Foundation. They all get thrown in there together, all equally important.
Mm-hmm. All have their roles.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's Namora. Obviously, she's very, very different in this film. She
Yeah.
isn't like Namor. She is still his cousin in the film. But she's not half human, half Atlantean because I mean they're not really Atlanteans. They're humans that
Ate a
basically
plant.
ate. Yeah, they ate the blue herb, but it changed slightly because of where it grew, and they all went underwater while his mum was pregnant. So he's different, but because she wasn't clearly born at the same time, she isn't different. So there are some big changes there, but the core relationship between the two seems very similar.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope we get to see more of Namora, because A, that'd be very cool,
I
and
f-
B, because they've changed her a little bit, they can make her more than just a female Namor like she is
mm,
for a lot of the comics.
yeah, I mean, we'll probably get into that more when we start talking about Black Panther later, but
Exactly.
there's definitely should be interesting in the film. Should be
Uh
interesting.
huh. And this brings us on to Andor episode
Our favorite show at the
11.
moment.
Bro, this show is fucking phenomenal. Give it
It's
all of the Emmys, all of them. Just hand them
so
over.
before we started recording, I had to quickly refresh my mind to last week's episode of Andor, as we've got 2 episodes. So if we blur the lines of which episode's which,
We'll
we'll
try our
do
best not to.
we'll try our best not to, but it's there. Also, if you haven't already watched the finale, we will be talking about the finale. So it's your own fault if you listen on.
So, I think nothing sums up how good the show is better than the fact that episode 11 should have been shit. And I don't mean that because of anything other than when you've got a show that's got so many characters and you need to bring them all back together for the finale, normally that episode is something that, yes, everyone watches because they need the context, but everyone just kind of goes, they did not do that. They brought everyone together, but they made every fucking moment of it feel really good. And that shows how much thought was put into everything.
Yeah, they really set up like all the storylines starting to interweave really strongly, and setting up that finale also, like the way that they, like, episode 11, as you said, could have just been them setting everyone up to be like the finale and getting everyone's stories kind of interweaved properly, and then they decided to just fucking end episode 11 with the fucking sickest escape ever.
Bro, I couldn't. I was like, what is he doing? Is he going to try and like jump to hyperspace or something? A ship that small wouldn't have a hyperdrive. How's he going to get out of this?
Well,
and then they were like, oh, we're arming a countermeasure. And I'm like, wait, is he literally about to fight like a giant? What's going on?
So a lot happened in Andor episode 11, but we'll go with we'll just focus on this. But like, yeah, there's the end moments of episode 11 was Luthen in his ship. I can't remember where he'd been.
He'd been going to see Saw Gerrera
to
let him know about Kruger and how he was essentially giving Kruger up.
And let
which I really enjoyed.
Decide actually how that goes.
I'd really like to talk about that as well, because obviously this entire show is basically the beginning of the rebellion against the Empire.
Yeah.
The Empire is deeply fascist, and in the real world, the most fascist regime we've ever had was the Nazis. And I mean, there's very famous stories of once the Allied forces broke the Enigma code, they still had to let the Nazis take some victories, because if the Nazis knew, they would have changed the Enigma code, and then we'd have been back to square one.
Yeah.
And this is kind of that moment where they go, yes, we've got them, but we can't have them yet.
Well, yeah, it's that like playing your resources for the future, not for the moment. Because Luthen was in the position where it's like he has someone that he's finally got deep into the ISB. So he's now getting this information. But the danger is if he does anything about knowing this information, he immediately is going to lose that inside man in the ISB. And having to be okay with sacrificing 30 people. What is it? 20 people plus
30 people plus Kruger.
Yeah, whatever it was. Like that having to mentally like tell yourself that like sacrificing that many people now is worth it in the grand scheme of things down the
Not an easy
line.
decision to make to send people to their
No.
death.
And the fact that he then goes to Saw Gerrera and essentially leaves that decision up to him. Probably knowing what Saw would do, because Saw is way more for himself and
But
individual.
I think Luthen's thought process was, I think this is the right thing to do. If Saw agrees with me, I can sleep easy with my decision.
Mm.
And if he disagrees with me and goes against me, then I was clearly wrong and we're going to get fucked massively. We'll see. Like, I think he was almost using Saw as like an internal checks and balances.
Yeah.
If Saw can see it my way as well, this is the right thing to do.
I agree. I think there was definitely some sort of like he was unsure of himself, so he kind of was using Saw as a second opinion in a way. I also wonder if this is like one of the reasons why that kind of pushes Saw to really stay on his own and away from the rebellion, because he maybe ends up not feeling like he doesn't like the idea of like maybe Luthen or the rebellion know if he's going to be going to his death and he won't. He'd rather just not have any of that thought in the back of his mind that information could be being held against what's about to happen to him, sort of thing. But yeah, it was an interesting little dynamic between the two of them, of Luthen really trying to like explain this is for a bigger cause than just the few lives that are going to be lost, and Saw also kind of having to realize you're right, and what he wants to be doing is for a bigger cause, and they are actually on the same like page, even if they've got different approaches to things. And then then we saw obviously Luthen left there and got intercepted by fucking
old Star Cruiser.
Yeah.
Mate.
I was like, the whole, you could tell he was up to something, and obviously that ship has hidden tricks, and it was obviously always going to have hidden tricks, and he's like sorting out a fake code to give, buying time, and then.
Well, I think initially he was hoping the fake code would be enough for them to go, okay, move along.
Yes, and I think
he definitely started doing stuff because he wasn't certain it would be enough.
Yeah, he was trying to buy the code, and then he was like scanning the truck, like figuring out what power level. So this is where I think like he obviously then has always has a defense against this thing built in. So he knew what was potentially going to need to be used. Finds out that the tractor beam is only like a low power level. So then kind of purposefully, I feel like he's trying to make things take longer because he wanted them to power it up.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what is he gonna do? He's obviously gonna do something to like break out of it. Thinking he just was like he had something that would be strong enough to jump out of it or something.
Yeah.
Was not expecting him to just unleash the coolest fucking weapon
It
I
was
have
so
seen
sick.
in such a lot. Like, this is honestly gave me the same feeling as when Boba Fett drops those seismic charges that like implode and just go. They are fucking incredible to watch. Always like so cool to see be used. So it's the same thing, like this little needle fucking
just
explosives.
Obliterating their satellite for the tractor beam that allows them to get away. Just so cool. And it's their confusion. They're like, it's a tiny little ship. How is this happening? We are the Empire.
Yeah. And then he like does the fucking flyby the bridge, which my mate made a point. He's like, he said to me, he's like, oh, I wish he'd just like launched a second lot of them at the bridge and just obliterated the ship. But I think actually he didn't full on destroy the ship, because it's like, look at it this way. At the moment, from that, he is a unknown ship, because they don't actually have a code. They have a visual sort of description, but
I
like,
mean, it's a big old universe, isn't it?
yeah, unknown ship who damaged a Star Destroyer and escaped.
Yeah, they assumed he was a pirate trying to get away with something. That's one
Had
thing.
he absolutely obliterated it, it would have
A
been
lot more
someone's
attention.
taken down a Star Destroyer. Who the fuck was that? Let's fucking find out.
Yeah.
So I think he's playing a safer game, but it was so cool to watch that happen.
It was very, very cool.
And then what else went out? So we obviously
We
had
also had Cassian and I forget which other prisoner it was, in continuing their escape.
Oh yeah,
So we saw them at the beginning climbing a mountain.
Yeah, hiding on a
The
cliffside.
ships were clearly looking for prisoners.
Yeah.
Then they got kind of fished.
Yeah, they saw a ship and two weird alien creatures, and they're like, "Oh, we'll just run to the ship," and they were kind of ready for it and caught them.
Yeah, and they were like, tasty," and they were like, "Please don't eat us."
Essentially,
and yeah, I'm convinced the alien was never going to eat them. By the way,
no,
I think he was just having fun playing with the humans.
I think he full well has probably helped. There's probably been some situation where a prisoner's like escaped like that before, or it ended up there. And they'll have known, oh, that's a prisoner's uniform. They're from the thing. Oh,
Yeah.
No intention of like doing anything, but we'll just play with them. So yeah, that was funny. And then dropped him off back at his old little seaside.
Yeah, back to the seaside planet.
I love that.
To go get his money.
Yeah, he snuck back into the apartment, which is obviously now someone else's, but the box is still there, untouched.
He calls up Ferrex.
Oh yeah,
and finds out that his mother is dead.
Yep, which not the best news to receive over the phone.
Well, now here's the interesting thing. While he was like getting that information, we heard the voice of the guy who wrote the
manifesto.
Yes, the manifesto, thank you. And one of the big bits of audio you like properly hear come through is every small microaggression helps the rebellion. You've got people enlisted that don't even know they're fighting the fight. If you look at that episode as a whole, the Empire gets fucked over like a number of times in small ways throughout the episode, and it all comes down to that kind of idea. It's like, yes, the garrison hit and the prison break are big hits, but every little time you fight back, you're doing damage.
Yeah. And then that whole like he has the conversation with the other prisoner and being like, we have to we need to try and tell as many people what the fuck's going on. And that understanding of like, this is where we go separate ways and we try and spread the word and we try and build. And it's like, yeah, this is how it started. Is individuals split up, spread as far as they could, and started trying to just push that like message and
let everyone know what's happening, and they'll know what they
build
need to
little
do.
pockets in different places. Like it's the best way to do it.
That anti-Empire sentiment across the galaxy will be enough to get the ball rolling.
Yes. And then we also got back on Coruscant.
Yeah.
Mon's daughter being way too interested by herself in the traditions of...
Yeah, so we learn in episode 10 when she was having the meeting with the creepy criminal thug with money, that it looks like on their planet, arranged marriages at the age of 13 are very much the done thing, very common.
We'd got hinted at that from Mon's marriage as well throughout the series.
And she didn't want to put her daughter through that because she like it's the old ways and like you don't have to do that anymore, but some people still believe it, blah blah blah. But then we cut to Mon's flat with, I forget her sister's actual name, but the sister, the rebel, turns up and she goes, "The fuck is going on in there? Why are they holding one of their weird class things? What are you doing?"
Recognizing it from back home and being like, "You set this up?" Nope. Daughter set this up.
Did your husband, did Brit, or was it Brit? Whatever it was. Her husband, is this it? It's like, no, he doesn't really believe in it either. This is all her. she's gone out and found the group leader, the elder.
The little class.
She's obsessed, and you're just there
Yeah.
like that's kind of terrible. It's almost like the show went. It's not enough to go after authoritarian governments. Let's go after predatory religions as well,
it's
isn't it?
weird. Yeah, and it's one of those things where I wonder if it's like the reasoning kind of if you look at it from the kids' perspective, right? You've got your mum and dad that were arranged that way, and maybe they don't believe in it, and that's why their marriage didn't work. So maybe
Ah,
the daughter
I get
thinks,
you.
I'm more invested in this, and I do think this is the right way, and like maybe that's how I'll find someone that actually,
It's only not worked for them because they didn't allow it to work.
yeah, and they
I'm
didn't
going to
believe
allow
in
it to work, so it will work for me.
possibly. But
Maybe
yeah, also like very, very
the like
weird that a kid,
horror on her sister's face.
yeah, and I mean I don't even though Mon was like, you could tell he's not keen on it, but he's kind of like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna tell. It's better to have it be going on in her own house and keeping an eye on her daughter and what she's doing than just letting her daughter go off to some random
Yeah,
classes somewhere else.
and there will also be the thought in the back of her head, well, as this is what my daughter wants, and I can use it to solve my money issue.
Mm.
Maybe it's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, but it's dodgy.
It was a really like uncomfortable scene to watch, not because the acting was poor, because the acting was so good. You found yourself sitting there going, "Oh no, I don't like it."
Yeah.
Which is exactly, I'm sure, the like emotion they were trying to get us to feel.
And then the other thing we got was our little brown nose boy, ISB wannabe,
Yeah,
um,
on the phone with the other dickhead
with the yeah,
from back at the
with the army
beginning.
boy from the beginning.
Yeah,
Having a finding
Andor's
out that
mother's dead.
yeah, finding Andor's mother's dead and bit of
That call
information.
was hilarious for all of the right reasons, because it just shows how inept they both are.
Yeah.
They're acting, "Oh, we're super serious soldiers," but they're getting, like, cut off from a call, and they can't work out what's being said, even though it's very obvious to,
Yeah.
like, the viewer. So which they're like, "Wow, these guys really are thick as shit."
Well, it's like
Um,
it's just funny that the general guy is very much he's the sort of person that is very much like, oh, like for the cause I'm doing, like I will do what the upper management wants and I will be a good soldier, blah blah, blah. Has this like weird, like, sees the ISB wannabe guy as like he thinks he's way more like in charge and has it together than he actually does. So he's
yeah,
looking up
he's
to him like he's
living
like
with his
some
mother back
leader,
on his home planet.
but he's not the leader that this soldier guy thinks he is. But then he wishes he was, so he's kind of running. It's like they're very much a fake it till you make it situation, and like
Yeah.
you can just tell
Um,
that the two of them are going to get themselves in shit.
we also get one of the saddest scenes in the entire show with B2 mourning Marva.
Yes, the whole Marvel
That was
thing.
fucking heartbreaking. How have they made a metal box curling up like this make me feel so sad?
Do you know what I think actually like has really sold B2 emo?
B2 EMO, yeah.
Yeah, is his little stutter
Yeah,
is what really
very,
sells
very
the
personable.
emotion. Yeah, and it's like the way he was just like, still need to charge, and then the guy calls him out. He's like, "You've been on charge for the past 3 days,
Okay, yeah.
or whatever."
Well, I mean, it's like that's his bed, isn't it? It's like when
Yeah,
you're in bed and you feel for it and you don't want to move. So it's like, come on, you got to get up. It's like, no, I need more sleep. It's like you've slept for 12 hours.
yeah.
Come on.
But I really liked how like we start in that episode. We started to see, oh, there's like a whole funeral procession. Like
The culture of the planet, yeah.
they talked about like, oh, they want a permit for the street, but we're not going to give it to them. And then ISB woman's like, "No, give it to them. Let them have it." And
But you know what I really enjoyed about that as well? It showed how scummy the Empire is even more. And they're
yeah,
doing it in these subtle ways constantly. It's like these people just want to hold a funeral for someone who's very important, and you were going to deny them a street permit just to have their funeral their way.
yeah. and then actually, no, we're gonna let them have it because we're gonna use it to control
only
them.
because we can get something out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And we obviously got to see some of that, and the whole kind of culture, the fact that they've come up with so much depth to Ferrix as like a planet and the culture of the planet
Like, I
is
guess I have a bold prediction.
oh
Now, I'm not 100% sure it will happen, which is why it's bold. And my reasoning is because of already established Star Wars events.
hmm.
I think they're going to retcon Alderaan being the first victim of the Death Star
um
so that they can get rid of Ferrix. Because Ferrix was a brand
I
new planet we knew nothing about, which seems to be like the heart of the rebellion. Or maybe they don't retcon Alderaan being the first planet completely destroyed by the Death Star, but make so Ferrix was used for like tests. So look, Ferrix is desolate and basically destroyed beyond any habitability.
um
Because he says in like episode 4, witness the full might of the Death Star or whatever the fuck the line is. Or witness the full might of the Empire. Maybe
yeah,
they use Ferrix as like a testing ground for the Death Star.
possibly. What I think's gonna happen to Ferrix is it's gonna become like a forward ISB base. Like
Oh,
because of
really?
everything's gone on, like ISB is gonna like absolutely lock that planet down,
Quite possibly.
and it just becomes some sort of like trades, like very controlled, and no one actually really wants to live there anymore. It probably gets to a point where there's no culture left there, and it's all like a forced out. Um, I love.
I think
Go on.
we've covered everything in episode 11 now.
I think so. It was very much like a lots of the stories kind of interweaving and
Oh, there one other thing? Or was this episode 12? Where Luthen finds out that Martha's dead as well. I think he finds out in episode 11 as well. I think everyone finds out about
yeah,
Martha's death in episode 11 so that they're poised in the right way.
yeah, everyone's like pointed towards Ferrix, which is what we predicted was going to happen, that Cassian was going to go back there for some reason even though he shouldn't. And we obviously knew that Marva wasn't well. So it kind of all lined up and it makes sense, like for the finale to be where it all started.
Yeah, it's a very
Essentially,
roundabout way. But like for an episode that's entire job was to point all of the main characters back at Ferrix when none of them were really paying any attention to it.
yeah,
To do it so well and in such an engaging and interesting way is very difficult.
yeah. No, it was, and to still fit in like those really cool moments, like with Luthen escaping and stuff, and like what should have been just a filler episode was actually a really good episode once
Yeah.
again, like every time.
The mindset and thought process around this show has been flawless.
It really has.
But that brings us on to episode 12,
Yeah, this week's episode, the finale.
which is basically just the funeral.
Yeah, essentially. With a little bit of Mon's story just teased of
Yeah.
what was going on.
Um,
I'm trying to remember what we opened with.
we open with Mon's sister arriving on the planet and going to see her girlfriend who's currently working in a bar. No, we open with the guy who told Cassian his mom was dead over the phone, telling Cassian's mate that he spoke to Cassian.
His like Marva's the other one that his friend he told to look after Marva.
Yeah, his main buddy boy.
I forget his name. Yeah.
He goes to see him and goes, "I've spoken to Cassian."
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, did you tell him not to come?" And he said, "Well, it was a short conversation because Cassian just hung up." basically being like, Cassian's on the way. Essentially, that was setting up the thing of like, Cassian's on the way, so we need to figure out,
shit gonna get
yeah,
spicy.
we got to be careful. And then you had the start of prep and stuff. Like we saw everyone. Basically, we've got like the arrival of each person.
Yeah.
We had the ISB woman arrived.
Yeah.
I went and checked on Bix.
Yeah. Who was looking worse for wear.
Yeah, looking the same, brain empty, like
Yeah, just
jumbled
desolate
mess.
and yeah.
And then saying that, oh, I'm gonna go change, and so and so is gonna take me out onto the streets for a look around, basically going undercover on the streets. To be sneaky.
Which the rebel girl picked up on, and when
Well, she was
a
already,
commander turned up, they went in, then came out in plain clothes, thinking no one would notice.
yeah. Well, she'd
Which
been
once
following
again
that guy
shows
from the
like the
bar.
ego of the empire, doesn't it? That
Yeah,
they
they think
think
they
that
can
people
hide.
won't notice this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. They think they don't. Most general people probably don't pay attention, but the ones that want to pay attention are going to see them. But the empire doesn't think that. Doesn't think anyone cares enough to be paying attention for that. We saw Luthen arrived, landed in his usual spot, far out in the desolate land.
We also saw Brown Nosy Boy and his mate sitting on the bus that we saw when Luthen came in the first time.
Yeah, swapping caps because they obviously put on the wrong caps for their outfits or something. To blend in. We saw Cassian arrived at night and was skulking around the streets, and then checked on. He went to Marva's husband's stone in the wall.
Yes. Which we never fully understood because it wasn't explained, but it makes sense now. And we got like a really sweet scene of, I mean, essentially his dad explaining how if you look at something, you can see its true value. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you're just going to see a piece of junk.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is his way of kind of talking about the people of the galaxy and how, because the Empire's downtrodden people, they just look around and see junk, so don't care. But if you just take the time to clean it up a little bit, it becomes this valuable, beautiful thing.
Yeah, and the fact that like they're cleaning up what look like CPU coolers.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like something that makes something work.
Yeah.
Like,
little mini radiators, but
yeah,
we saw that, and was it also tied with that? We got a bit of the manifesto kind of speech.
Yes, I think so.
Which was a nice, like, kind of, you start to see Cass really
realize that the rebellion's the only way.
Yeah, coming to terms with the fact that like there is something here building within people, and like it's more than just, yes, you want to stick it to them, but like there is a bigger thing and can be a bigger thing, and people do want to come together, and like that realization of like, look, maybe we can build something here to fight back.
Yep.
And then he jumps into his usual wall and realizes Bix isn't around, and oh shit, Bix is in trouble. My girlfriend.
Who is it he goes to see to find out where Bix is?
Well,
he goes to see his friend.
He goes to the shop, and then he sees the guy that has the ship in the shipyard that he'd used. It's him watching the shop, and he's like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "Well, I'm watching it." Explains to him that Bix is got taken in. Obviously, I don't think we see the full conversation of that, but obviously lets him know.
And he's like, "Well, why do they still have her?" And he's like, "No one knows."
Yeah, they're not.
She must know something.
And Cass probably realizing it's because she knows him. Then I think we go to, then it's like the morning, right? The next, I'm trying to remember exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, they're in the like,
go to the funeral.
Yeah, and they're in that underground in the like sewer.
Yeah.
And Cass meets up with his
mate.
Yeah, and kind of a little bit of a reunite.
Yeah, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah, you shouldn't have
And
come.
he has all of his self-hatred, like, "Oh, I promised her I'd get her out. I promised her I wouldn't leave. I promised her I'd come back." And his mate's like, she told me you were gonna say all this. She also
Yeah, and
said,
then
"Shut the fuck up."
there was a nice moment between where like he told Cass all the things Marvel wanted to say to him.
Yeah, which was what she kind of had already said the last time they spoke.
Yeah, but he just wasn't listening to it.
Yeah, the like the galaxy's a powder keg right now. All it needs is a spark,
Yeah,
essentially. And basically her last words to him were, "Be the spark."
yeah, and for him finally kind of listening, I think
Yeah.
because of everything that had happened and what he's gone through, and
It's where it gave us like his character arc for the series of him going from just wanting to survive and do his own thing
yeah,
to helping the rebellion for money to genuinely believing.
yeah,
But he's trying to come to terms with his mother's death, and essentially his mother's last words to him are, "Go out there and free the universe."
yeah, and kind of that going from that start of the series where, like you say, he was all for himself, wanted to screw the Empire, but was more just he was just trying to screw the Empire,
Yeah,
realizing that there is a bigger thing, like a bigger thing to play here than just him screwing the Empire. It's building hope in something.
yeah.
Um,
Then we get the funeral, which is just beautiful.
yeah, the way they did the funeral march, and I love that they were clearly were given a set time for the funeral procession, but then the people were just like, "Ah, fuck it, we're starting when we want to start," because no one was ready for ISB side, the Empire side. They were like, "Oh, we've got a few hours," and then the bell tower starts going. And they're like, hang on a second,
Positions.
this isn't going to start for a couple of hours. Why is it starting now?"
Yeah,
I love that they're getting to like the fact that they did it as like a musical procession, and it's like they all started in different places, and it's like the whole town coming
put it this
together.
way, the way while watching it, you could tell it was a funeral even without the context, because it
Yeah,
did have them elements that all cultures have in their funerals, but they still gave it that twist that makes it feel like someone else's culture.
yeah. Um, with like their uniforms and all that stuff, like you got this sense that like it's a very set way that they do it on Ferrex, but it very much did come across. The tone of it was very much like this is a funeral, and this is like really kind of pulling at the heartstrings, and like like you can feel that emotion watching it.
Yeah.
Um, Mainly, I think with the way that they did the music with the instruments, like just that kind of slow, somber, like build up. Um, it was
Then
really well done
then
and really nice.
then we moved into my favourite part of the episode, which was B2 giving essentially her last words or
Yeah,
her own, I guess her own.
he
Um,
had his own little R2D2 projection moment where he was
yeah,
like, Obi
and
Wan.
she gave the coldest speech ever.
Oh, that speech started, and
Mate.
she's like, I'm like, hang on, I know where this is going. She's gonna tell them all to fucking rise up and fight.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I said Serkis's monologue made me want to
Yeah,
run through a brick wall. It was the exact same feeling. It
we've
was
had
there like,
so
yeah,
many.
let's take them down.
We've had Andy Circus, we've had Luthen's little speech,
Yeah, yeah. The
we've not,
monologues in this have been
and now we've had
phenomenal.
like but that's where all like when you think about it, that's how the rebellion started, is like riling people up and getting them to,
Inspiring
and
people, yeah.
yeah, to the cause. So it's like, of
And it all
course,
starts in a very real, like in a very real way of her talking about how she's been to these ceremonies and how she always hopes to be inspired at them. So now she wants to inspire someone else. And
mhm,
like as you're sitting there, you find yourself leaning forward and like, yes.
this is about to kick off.
Do you know
And
what else I loved, which was really subtle?
go on.
When it did kick off and the guy comes over to try and turn the thing off.
Oh yeah, you missed.
The first attack landed was the brick that's for her. So she
Oh
essentially
yeah, yeah.
landed the first blow.
The family friend guy, he just full on swings the
Yeah,
brick,
yeah. So
which
it's
I
like
loved.
Marva herself gets to land the first
Yeah,
punch in the fight back, which I just loved.
yeah. Um, Oh, we also did like on all that build up of people arriving. We saw the
The bomb
son,
maker.
yeah, the son of the shop guy who got taken in first.
Yeah.
Like,
So we didn't know who it was at first. We just saw someone building a bomb, and it would like cut to
oh,
and from them. Then we got a bit of face,
I
and then it
picked
showed
up
like
on,
a holographic picture.
I picked up on it was the son pretty quick, and I was like,
Oh, I
oh
didn't.
shit. I
I
was
didn't
like,
realize till they showed the holographic picture.
oh, it's the son. Like he's pissed. He's gonna use the funeral to like start something. Um, because
And it's almost like when he was there, he decided not to, and then her speech almost
well,
gave him the confidence to go through
yeah,
with
it
it.
was. You could see like they kept showing him in the procession walking. Like you could see the way he portrayed it with like you could tell he was nervous and like kind of like obviously wants to do this, but like is scared. Also at the same time is scared about doing it because I mean he's about to freaking throw a bomb at people. But yeah, the speech I think is that like final thing that rallied him, and yeah, just pure chaos kicks off. And I love the fact that the guy in charge then gets absolutely just swamped,
Rotted.
and then he has to crawl his way out. And then we had like the ISB woman ends up in the thick of it and just getting absolutely beat up by like she's on the ground and people are just swarming her. And I was like, yes, the fucking stuck up bitch is getting it.
It is that beautiful moment where they managed to visually show the concept of they can't stop us all.
Yeah, like it really suddenly you're like, yeah, see, you're not as fucking strong as you think you are in the Empire. Like the people have the power when they want it. And like getting to see them like realize that, oh shit, I'm helpless right now. Like I'm not in control and I don't have this power that I thought I did. But then Brown Nose Boy saves the day. Which I don't know.
Weird. There was some weird sexual tension there.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean,
Yeah,
he's already stalked her. Like I
yeah.
was like, is she
It
gonna
like
kiss him or
yeah, you see the fear in her eyes of like, what the fuck are you doing here? And then you think, is she about to like kiss him because he saved her in some kind of weird like moment that's just going
yeah.
to reaffirm his stalkerish behavior?
Yeah, I was like, this feels like some weird, like kind of don't want to watch kiss is gonna
Yeah,
happen. um so yeah, that I think that's gonna be interesting now for season two, is like I think he's gonna have bought himself some sort of position in what's gonna happen
yeah.
going forward.
And while the commotion of the funeral was going on, um, Cassian broke into where they
Oh
were
yeah, they were
holding Bix to
hunting
save her.
Cassian. Yeah, they're too busy trying to find Cassian in different buildings and rooftops. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
he's actually just in their building because
yeah.
like all the guards are out on the street, no one's watching inside.
Well,
Um,
they all assumed he'd be more worried about his mother's funeral, whereas his friend said, "Don't worry about the funeral. I'm gonna look after your mum. Go get Bix."
yeah, and the fact that the chef working in the building was like, oh, Cass, and they
And
have
that's
people
another
on the
one of them
inside
like
still.
microaggressions that
Yeah,
we
yeah,
would
yeah.
like to mention. It's like every time you do what you shouldn't do, you hurt them more than you realize. So he should have dubbed Cassian in then, but he didn't.
No,
And I mean, look how much trouble that caused.
um, and he finds Bix and realizes the state she's in, and I don't.
It was actually really difficult to see. I mean, bravo to the actress, but seeing Bix at the beginning of the show and comparing her to then, you're just like,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, what have
yeah,
they
but
done to
and then
her?
there was like while the funeral procession's going on, she was at the window, and like you could see because it's like a traditional thing, it instantly was like whatever was left going on in her head after what they've done to her is like it still was like it still understood that what was going on outside and relate like kind of when essentially like when old people have dementia, like a old piece of music sets them off with like old memories.
Yeah, and
It's
they have like a
essentially
moment of clarity.
yeah, it was like that, but then it's like Cass comes in and she's talking about how she dreamt he was gonna come
Yeah.
back and but isn't, and then Cass realizing she's not all there. The fuck have they done to her? but not giving up and getting her out of there. Also, the guy that tried to dob Cass in for some money, dead on the floor in the
after the explosion.
Yeah, kind of bit of karma for him because all he cared about was his getting his payment.
Exactly.
And they got
then
them
we
to the
had them
ship.
loading onto the ship. B once again very upset because Cassian wasn't coming with them just yet.
No.
And then Cassian essentially found Luthen, which I really liked. The idea that Cassian's like, I know Luthen's here somewhere. I'll find him.
Well, do you know what I knew it was? It's like it goes from that ship and he's off to he's like leaving them and running out of the yard, and then it cuts to Luthen on his bike, and I was going, well, Cass is going to be at the ship because he's going to go, well, I know where Luthen landed last time. He's just going to land in the same spot, so I'm just going to go there and probably find his ship. And he knew as soon as like it was following Luthen onto the ship, and he tells like, oh, prep, whatever, and nothing's responded to him. You're like, Cass is just going to be on the ship there. He's going to go around this corner and Cass is going to have a gun pointed at him. But it wasn't quite that. It was just...
He essentially said, I know you probably want me dead, so either kill me or let me help.
Yeah, either let
which
me
is
join.
really badass.
Yeah, it's either kill me or let me join, because this is what you wanted. So now you've got to make the decision. Do you still want me to join, or do you want to kill me?
And I think it also shows that Cassian is so devoutly ready to help the rebels that he's of the opinion, I'm already dead, essentially. He's like, you're going to kill me now and I'm going to be dead, or I'm going to fight them until I die.
Yeah.
Which one is it? Do you want the helping hand or not?
Which we get.
I mean, this show is phenomenal. I cannot wait for season 2.
Oh, season 2 is going to be great. And the fact that... Do you know what's bad, though, and we're forgetting again? These characters that escaped...
Yeah, they've all got to die.
They're all going to die.
Yeah, Luthen has to die. Luthen's too big a character to survive. He has to die.
The only ones that could maybe survive is the ones related to the ISB. Like Brown Nose Boy and ISB Woman, because they could, I guess.
There is a chance, however very slim,
that
Bix and his mate survive because he never goes to find them.
Possibly.
And he just leaves them. But that's very slim.
Yeah. But then
we know Cassian dies. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. It's just,
Cassian...
You've also got to remember that this is isn't this like year 1?
Yeah, so it's 5 years.
This was like, this season was kind of spread across a year for the most part.
Yeah.
And to see the progression of Cassian's character, the progression of where Mon started, if you think about when we first were introduced to her and she's like going to some party, and now she's like in over her head with some mafia guy, which also we saw that.
Yeah,
briefly.
we need to talk about that. Mon is sneaky.
Oh yeah, there was the whole thing in the car.
Yeah.
So there's the thing where she didn't trust the driver.
Yeah,
and Luthen
she knew
didn't
she couldn't trust the driver.
And they asked for privacy. And I think this was her finally properly testing if she can trust the driver.
No. She knew she couldn't trust the driver. Well, I think this was her trying to cover her back for the 400 grand.
Okay, yeah. Also that.
Blame my husband's gambling. The Empire will use that against me, yes, but it won't be enough for them to want to get rid of me because now they'll think I'm under their thumb.
Yeah, they'll play. Yeah, I think it's that, and I think it is also though kind of a part, like she did it knowing she can't trust the driver to try and also kind of figure out where that information might go, sort of thing.
Yeah, who's interested in me and how interested are they?
Yeah. And the husband being like, the fuck are you on about? I'm not doing any of that shit. Kind of gaslighting him.
Yeah, but I mean, he's an arsehole, so it's kind of acceptable.
Yeah.
It's weird. I never thought I'd be down for like genuine spousal abusal, but like, but at the same time, you kind of like, I could believe he's lying about gambling.
Yeah, and he didn't really convince. He didn't do a great job of convincing her, but at the same.
It took me a second to realize that actually he probably wasn't gambling. She was just setting him up because
Yeah.
his like defense was so shit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think the thing that kind of clicked for me was like the fact that we kept seeing it from the driver's POV, and I was like, she knows the driver's listening, so this is her covering.
Which is why when he was like, "Who told you this?" She wasn't saying anything.
Yeah, she was trying to decoy, like she wouldn't give up anything. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we saw that information get relayed back to the other ISB guy.
Yeah.
But then we saw daughter getting introduced to Son of Mafia.
Yeah.
Which
was
again
made me feel sick.
Yeah, it was very uneasy, and like even on Mon's face and the husband's
you could
face,
tell
like,
she was hating every second of it.
Both of them looked like, well, we're doing this, but this feels weird that we're doing this sort of
it's
thing.
It's tricky for Mon though, because no parent would ever want to put their child in a bad situation. At the same time, is your child more important than the entire galaxy?
And also, it's more so like she's just in so deep. Like you make irrational decisions when you're like in, just you're stuck. Your back's up against the wall. Like this is a clear way out, or it seems like a clear way out. Whether this might not even pay off for her.
Exactly.
So it's gonna be interesting. That was the one storyline that obviously didn't get tied into everything else.
Which kind of makes sense because Mon needs to be separate from everything that's going on the front lines.
But I like how this season really set up her position. That's clearly going to go from Senate to rebellion.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to clearly in season 2 end up too deep in it, and something's going to cause her to have to kind of back out.
I'm very interested. You know who else I think we're going to get to see because of her position in the Senate?
Palpatine. Oh,
damn. Yeah. The Donnie who was in Kenobi.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He's doing what?
The one who is Layla's step parent.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I can't think of his name.
Oh my god. Leia's adopted father. Bail Organa.
That's it. Yeah, we probably will. We'll probably see Bail Organa at some point.
There is even a chance, because we know at the beginning of A New Hope that Leia has already overtaken some of his responsibilities. We might even get to see Leia.
That's going to be weird.
And if they do that to us, I'll cry like a baby.
Yeah.
But it would also be really cool and make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think do you know what? If we don't see either of them,
I'd genuinely be quite surprised.
I bet we get an R2D2 cameo.
Hey, don't even.
He's just gonna rock up somewhere, or we're gonna be in the Senate building with Mon, and you're just gonna see R2 just in the background. Just go by. just cause he's everywhere. He is the true origin of the rebellion.
For sure. And then we get our post-credit scene, which is that the evidence that what they were working on in the prison was in fact the Death Star.
Yes, the fact that Cassian helped disrupt the process of being made by this,
and
like,
then
breaking out of the
inevitably give the tools to destroy.
Yeah, but also gets killed by...
is the most important character in Star Wars lore as of right this moment.
Yeah, it's just...
He's right in the center of everything that happened.
Do you know what's funny? Is he is a character that has been added after the fact of the films,
which makes it all so much better.
Which has turned him into he's turned into one of the most important characters for the original trilogy, and he wasn't in the original trilogy. Just like Ahsoka has become one of the most important characters for the prequels, and she was never in the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Filoni knows what the fuck he's doing.
He's the fucking mastermind.
So I'm like, who's he going to bring out next Like, how is Mando gonna pay into the Disney trilogy and we didn't even realize?
Honestly, it feels like Dave Filoni watches the trilogy and just goes, "Okay, there's a lot of plot holes here. I'm going to come up with one character that solves them all. You're
Literally.
welcome."
It's like he just takes on, the fans are mad about all these plot holes. I will fix this. This is my to fix. But
it was cool seeing the Death Star be built.
Yeah, and how it's by these little weird crab robots.
Yeah,
it was very cool seeing that being built.
But I do like that you see literally one of the things you saw them working on literally get lowered into place, and you see, although it's very like minuscule in the grand scheme of the Death Star, it's literally a bracket that holds the different like outer shell together.
Oh yeah, it's just a bracket that's used probably across the whole ship, and it also then leans into it reiterates the fact that those prisons, yes, Cass broke out of that one, but remember there was other ones next to it. They broke one unit broke out, but there was, I think, in that out in that water there was like 3 of them. So there was 2 still chugging away making things. There's probably plenty more dotted around the galaxy making different things, and like that, just without having to show it, was like fixes that thing of like, how did the Death Star get made without people realizing? Well, it's because the prisons were doing it and no one had a clue what the fuck was going on in the prisons.
You had all these prisons making it. The prisoners didn't know what they're making because they're all just making one component 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And no one even knows what's going on in these prisons. Yeah. But do you know what else it shows? It shows that they didn't build the Death Star in response to the Rebel threat, because the Death Star hasn't popped up in the last year.
No, they built it because they wanted to build.
That Death Star's basically done, like, externally.
Yeah.
This was always their plan of having this one thing that would keep everyone in order.
Yeah, it was the one thing that it was quite clearly Palpatine's idea was to get this built so they had a weapon that if a planet rebelled, they just destroy the planet.
In fact, they just built the Death Star too slowly.
Yeah, no.
Because the rebellion was too strong by the time it was operational.
Maybe
and obviously, you had Jyn Erso's dad, who designed it with a massive fucking flaw.
Well, yeah.
Which, again, going back to how much I love Rogue One, I loved how easily they fixed that plot hole. Oh, it's so unrealistic. There's a vent that leads straight into the thing that destroys it. The Empire would never approve that. Literally the first, 20 minutes of Rogue One. Okay, so what they did was they got someone who didn't like the Empire and forced him to design the Death Star, so he literally built in a self-destruct button.
Yeah. And built it in a way that it wasn't obvious and was just a small thing that no one would ever pick up on.
Because they assumed he'd behave, because who wouldn't just listen to the Empire for their own safety?
Exactly. Yeah, honestly, this whole season 1 has been some incredible TV.
Andor season 2 is now probably right at the very top of my cannot wait for list.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure it's already in filming.
I hope so.
I'd
like to not have to wait too long for it.
No, I feel like Andor season 2. I'm sure the actor that plays Cass mentioned something about it. I'm trying to remember. It was like on a red carpet premiere or something. Apparently, oh wait, this is saying 2024.
Oh no! Don't wait! Don't no!
I think he said it's. Maybe he was saying it was written
pre-production,
or they were like on this like flesh out. I can't remember.
Well, I don't want to have to wait over a year for season 2. That'd be heartbreaking.
It would be. I'm just looking. Do you know who I'm looking forward for season 2? We talked about like cameos. K2. K2's got to rock up.
I don't think we get him till like the last season.
I reckon.
I agree that I want him sooner, but I just don't think we get him too early.
Maybe we get him at the end of season 2.
Maybe.
Broken.
Yeah, and then they spend season 3 kind of building his body back up, and we just have his head wisecracking.
Yeah.
That'd be downfall.
Apparently, season 2 will be turned up to 11. How they can top season 1, like.
If they top season 1, this show is gonna
Well,
become top tier Star Wars
this
shilling.
this is now Cass and Luthen going to be working together. Like season 2 is going to be like more heists, more like big hits being planned.
Yeah, just constantly disrupting the Empire. It's gonna be great. It's gonna make me feel so anarchist. It's gonna be great.
Apparently, the showrunner Tony Gilroy has said season 2 sometime 2024.
January 1st, 2024, you have 13 months.
Because 2023 has Mandalorian season 3 and Bad Batch season 2 and Visions season 2 and the Ahsoka series.
Visions is getting a season 2. Let's go.
Yeah. It was such a success. Okay, so we're gonna get a lot of Star Wars this next year, which kind of makes sense why Andor's got to wait.
Still do. Anyway, let's move on to Black Panther.
Yes.
Wow.
I want to say on so many levels that this film was just beautifully emotionally and as much as everything that happened in the film and the story that went on, I actually feel like it was more so that final goodbye to Chadwick. It was
there
was so much depth to
it. They had an impossible task, but they handled it with decorum, grace, and as best they could. And as a result, we got a phenomenal film that they should all be very proud of.
And it's like they handled the situation and managed to handle it perfectly, and I think in a way that made sense with the story. But at the same time, like there was so many things that happened, and like the way the lines of dialogue and stuff that kind of felt like the actors also getting to be kind of pay a tribute to what Chadwick did.
Yeah. Shuri's character arc was really, really good.
Yeah, loved that.
That kind of internal anger about everything, which is very normal.
Yeah,
it is one of the
burying
stages of grief
herself
that she
in
was
work.
clearly stuck in. Yeah. Riri was an absolute highlight for me.
Yeah, I loved how they did Riri.
I really hope that other people who were less aware of the character are now even more excited for her TV show.
I think they will be, and for Armor Wars.
I think Namor as an antagonist was so well done.
Oh, I loved Namor. There was just the way that the arc they put Shuri through and the amount of like loss that she had to deal with, like just all of that forcing her almost in the wrong direction to then kind of come back from that.
It's a really interesting one because the film kind of works around the idea that Shuri has kind of lost faith in their culture.
Yes.
Because of what happened to T'Challa. Which is why she doesn't believe in the astral plane. She doesn't believe in even bothering to try and fix the heart-shaped herb. Technology will protect us. And then when she does get to the astral plane, she sees Killmonger, which is a phenomenal directorial decision, by the way.
Oh, I loved that they did that.
It was so well handled.
It never like occurred to me because obviously we've only experienced it from T'Challa's point of view,
and he was very well prepared for it and was expecting to see his father. Blah blah blah.
Because we didn't see Killmonger's astral plane, did we?
No, we did not.
So our experience is like, oh, when she does it, we're like, oh, she's going to wake up in the water and see the tree, and it's probably going to be T'Challa. And I was thinking, like, when she took it, I was like, how are they going to... I was like, I wonder if they're going to try and do some deepfake shit to try and, like, do T'Challa. Because they obviously done...
I assumed she was going to see her mother.
Oh, see, I wasn't... I thought she'd see her brother. But then, like, obviously I'm like, they've kind of avoided showing him because they didn't want to, like, out of respect to Chadwick, obviously didn't want to just do some deep fake stuff and
I guess
whatnot.
deep faking makes sense if you need to like really make an actor a lot younger. But when it's because they've passed away, I don't think anyone would have
Yeah,
felt comfortable doing that.
which is why I was like, this is going to be in. I'm like, what are they going to do here? And then it was Killmonger, and I was like, oh shit, this is
Mhm.
not where she should be, which is not a good sign. Like, this is not a good sign of kind of what direction she's about to go in.
Yeah. It really just put it this way, this film is handling cultures that me and you know nothing about.
Yeah,
We're both white English guys, so we're not going to sit here and say whether the culture was handled accurately, inaccurately, whatever. What we will say is it was enjoyable to watch. The story was thought provoking. It was beautiful. Once again, just like Killmonger in the first Black Panther film, the antagonist, while you're rooting against them because obviously they want to hurt a lot of people, you do understand how they got to that point.
yes,
Killmonger obviously grew up in America in a time when it was impossible, and he knows Wakanda has the technology to make it so that other people don't have to live that way. Yes, you don't want him to go and kill loads of people, but you get how he's got there. And then
hmm
with Namor, he went to bury his mother, and all he has is a bunch of these people trying to kill him instantly. And he sees his family or his ancestors as slaves.
yeah,
So it's again, fuck the surface world. It's not to be trusted. We're going to stay hidden.
yeah. And then people start encroaching on underwater. They're like, what the fuck are you doing in our territory? Okay, you've crossed a boundary now. Like,
Yeah.
just like
Do
Wakanda
do
protected themselves.
yeah, do we agree with him just going and murdering a fuck ton of people? Of course not, because that I mean, if he didn't kill people, he wouldn't be the villain. But you do find yourself going, I understand where he's coming from, which
Yeah,
is always a good way to make people consider why the world is the way it is.
it's that thing where we like in Black Panther 1 and even in this, like we've seen Wakanda almost go the same way. Wakanda's been very political in the way that it handled the rest of the world trying to get their vibranium. They would
Yeah,
just take it back or deal with themselves, or like in a political way, like that whole marching in the French mercenaries was such a badass moment of being like,
yeah,
we know the fuck, we know you're the one that's fucking trying to take our shit. Don't sit here and act like you're not.
yeah,
Um, but like Wakanda's very much almost been pushed to the same way that Namor has. Just Namor never like just went straight there. So it's kind of we got to see like, oh, this is what would happen if Wakanda lost that shit. Um,
yeah. And also like the whole thing is set up around the similarities of
mm,
I forget the name of their city and Wakanda. They're both there because of vibranium.
yeah.
It's everything vibranium. It's just that vibranium was near water, so it behaves slightly differently,
Well, it's
and
just
everyone in the world fucking wants some.
it's
And as a
the same.
result, they're going to come after us.
It's the same stuff. It's just the vibranium affected a water-based plant, and the vibranium affected a jungle-based plant. And it's like, I honestly, as soon as I saw like they were doing the whole thing about there was a blue, like a plant that they made, and then this is how they got their powers and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is just the same as the Wakanda plant. Like they are literally like the mirror of Wakanda, just under the water. They've managed to keep completely to themselves because, like IRL, we have not explored the oceans. Like, let's be real. Even if this was real life, like that very easily could be an underwater civilization. We won't know because we haven't explored
But
half the
yeah,
fucking ocean.
with all the power they have and the technology they have through that vibranium, it's very easy for anytime anything gets that low, just bang it up a little bit, throw it back up. They think, oh, the robots can't handle that water. That's fine. Move
Yeah.
on.
So getting to see that, and then I don't know if you had the initial thought I did of when Namor gave Shuri the bracelet and it said it'd been made from the plant. I immediately, my brain was like, she's going to use that to remake the plant, the
I
heart.
I I kind of assumed it'd be used in some way for that. Um, or either that, or it would have been like a she uses it to find his weakness kind of thing. Um,
I was like, it's the genetic thing that she's missing, because obviously it's like very unique. So,
Obviously we get at the end of the film we get left with M'Baku as the king of Wakanda,
oh yeah, I really
which
enjoyed
I
that
really liked.
kind of character arc that he had from being wanting to fight the rest of the world and just destroy them to actually being the sensible one.
He's gone from being so desperate to be king, he's not making the right decisions, to realizing the right decisions will lead him to be king essentially.
Yeah, and actually being it's that sort of thing where like he's always said, "Oh, we should just march over there and just show the West what we should really do and flex our power." Being young and boisterous and actually like deep down never actually meaning it. So then when it was actually on the cards and war, he was the one that like, hang on, I mean I was joking about all this stuff. Let's be real, we don't want war. Like and being sensible and that showing, oh shit, that's leadership, that's being a
Yeah.
king.
And like when you had Shuri full of rage, like we're going and we're gonna kill this guy.
Yeah,
And then M'Baku's like, are you for real? This is gonna put us in a never ending war with people who are crazy powerful. What the fuck are you thinking? And she's like, no, we're doing this. Listen to me. I'm in charge.
yeah. And him being like, okay, well, she Black Panther now.
Yeah.
Um, I liked though that he got to be turned into king, which is going to prove interesting because I don't know if, well, I presume Shuri knows that's the situation
Yeah, no, that was her. That
plan.
was. I mean, when he got off the thing, he said Shuri's not coming.
Yeah,
She told him.
true. Yeah, that's true.
She's like, oh, I'm going to stay the Black Panther. I'm not fit to rule the country right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to go live with my brother's ex missus and get my health sorted. I trust you to keep the country safe and let me know if you
if
need
you
any help.
yeah if you need me,
Yeah,
Black Panther will be back.
exactly. Which obviously leads to
Post credit scene.
the beautiful revelation in the post credit scene. Now,
Not what I expected. Not what we predicted.
no, not at all. I'm going to go out right away. There has been lots of debates ever since Chadwick very sadly passed about whether T'Challa should be recasted because he's such a brilliant character, or whether T'Challa should just be left dead out of respect for Chadwick.
Yeah,
I think the way they've decided to go with it is fucking perfect.
I
Because
agree.
what they've done is they have recast T'Challa because T'Challa did have a son, but his son was not called T'Challa. Um, and what they're essentially going to do is give us time to explore different Black Panthers, and then eventually there will be a young black man who gets his chance to be T'Challa in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, where they can use
Well,
him in the exact same way they wanted to use T'Challa,
mhm.
um, without taking away from Chadwick, and it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, I think what we got is because obviously when Chadwick was still alive and we had Black Panther 1, there was obviously a plan for Black Panther 2 already done and
Yeah,
direction of what was going to be used and happen. And I think it's safe to assume like him having a kid was probably never part of that. And I think the way that they've done it, because we've talked about it, I think on past episodes where yes, Shuri being the Black Panther is nice and it's good in the sense of like we're seeing a woman get to be like a black woman gets to be the Black Panther and representation of that, and it makes sense because after like Chadwick passing, like, but at the end of the day, like Black Panther is T'Challa, and I think we've talked about that and the fact that T'Challa is a character that is still needed. And
Hmm.
I think what this has allowed them is the best of both, which is like they are now able to explore, like, yeah, we get a black female as Black Panther, different than what it would normally have been. That's representation. We're getting to see something different. And then we set up a way that it will go back to being T'Challa, but not in a
But
forced
also,
way.
yeah. But also, do you know what I think is very important? It's literally giving Chadwick a very visual legacy
Yeah,
because there is a little black boy who gets to be a superhero one day because of Chadwick and Black
yeah.
Panther. This young actor, whether he grows up and stays as T'Challa or whether they recast for an older one at some point, is neither here nor there. Another black man gets that
To yeah,
chance
it gets to
because
pick the
of Chadwick's
mantle.
legacy.
And
And the world is a bit warmer to the idea,
yeah,
which
and
is
also like because it's his in the storyline, it's his son. It's that whoever takes that on is like taking on the mantle of T'Challa, but also is like representing Chadwick's son, and even stronger connection to that. And
yeah,
like,
it's really nicely done. I loved how it was done. Um, I love the introduction of them. And there was
yeah,
actually a callback in that post-credit scene to the first film, which I'm sure people have seen on the internet by now, where she says to to T'Challa, um, "Your Baba prepared us for his death." When T'Challa was in the astral plane in Black Panther, he said, "We weren't ready for you to go." And his dad says, "Any father that's not prepared his children for his death has failed,"
mm,
which shows that T'Challa learnt from his father and made his son ready.
yeah,
And it also means, based on timeline wise, logically, he probably only had about a month with his son in continuity
yeah.
between getting dusted, coming
Oh
back,
yeah,
and passing.
and
Because
then
his son's about 6. He was
yeah,
dusted for 5 years,
yeah,
and he came back, died, and there was a flash forward of a year. So his son probably only got, like, at most, like, a month with him.
maybe a little like little bits here and there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was also nice that um the mother knew,
Yes.
and before she obviously like Shuri went through so much loss in one film, and it was just like
And
an
yeah.
emotional roller coaster.
But forgetting all of, like, the important stuff of how beautiful the story was, how gorgeous the film was, how important the film was,
Mm.
the action was top
Oh, the
notch.
fighting was great.
The action sequences were really well done. The way they showcased Namora's ability, so much fun.
Yeah,
His agility through the air, which you got a little bit of in the trailer when we saw him do like the zigzag,
yeah,
but the fact we got even more of that, phenomenal. He felt like a menace.
yeah, unstoppable.
I loved it so much.
They no, yeah, they did a great job of really showcasing Namora, and across like the whole breaking Riri or picking up Riri and that whole fight, like chase scene, them all doing their own little things, um, like all the combat where the fact that Wakandans finally had someone that was stronger and harder to fight. Um, just like kind of getting to see them meet a foe that isn't just because up until this point, Wakanda's like this race and culture and civilization that's like just way stronger than the rest of the world, and we know it, but we kind of just got to accept that they're going to be nice, and then we actually get to see them really tested.
Well, we almost get to see what happened if Wakandans had no love for the surface world,
Yeah,
or for the rest of the world, I
yeah.
guess, for Wakanda. Because I mean, that's what Namor is. He would happily take over the surface world and let it all burn.
Um, we also got to see Namor and Namora talking at the end, and her being like, "This isn't what we wanted," and realizing that Namor is playing the long game, knowing that like we kind of it the fighting ends and like Namor yields and Shuri kind of realizes this isn't the way to just like outright kill him, like gotta be a better person, sort of like this isn't what I should be representing. And you
Yeah.
think, okay, she's kind of come to terms with things. He's also gone, oh shit. And you're like, oh, maybe he's turned a page in the right direction. But no,
He also
actually,
feels less invincible now, which is important.
yeah. But then it's like we get that moment of him back in his city, and he's like, "Oh, we'll just wait till they come to us to
Yeah.
help them
I
fight the
really
surface
like
world."
that we got to see his intelligence.
Yes, it
Because a
showed.
lot of the film, it seemed like he was just this boisterous, arrogant, I'm
Mm,
unstoppable. Which, don't get me wrong, Namor is a lot in the comics, but he's also very intelligent.
yeah,
So
he's
they did need to find a way of showing us how smart he is.
and the fact that he's like playing a longer game,
Yeah.
which
He
then
knew
just
he
makes
couldn't win
them,
then and there, so I'm gonna bide my time.
which also like really sets it up going forward because you then realize, oh wait, yeah, the like America and all that don't know that this was some other race. Like,
Hmm.
as far as they're aware, still this is Wakanda, and the fact that the um colonizer's boss, I forget his name, colonizer's
Everett.
boss, she was like, she arrests him,
But
but then they break
no,
him
but it's,
out at the end.
yeah, the Wakandas break him out to save him.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
But that's did you not realize who she was?
Isn't that the same woman that's been recruiting people?
Yeah, it's the lady that's been recruiting the Thunderbolts,
Yeah, I thought so.
which means they are US government backed.
Yes. So I'm. This may be just because it's been a while since I watched Black Panther or some of the others, but did you think that I forget the actor's name that plays the colonizer,
Martin
Martin
Freeman.
Freeman? Did you feel like he was doing a different accent than
No,
previously? Maybe I'm just
no, he
couldn't
was doing
remember.
his American accent, which is pretty standard.
I don't know. Maybe it's just been a while, and I was like, I don't remember him sounding like this. But
Martin Freeman is one of the few British actors I think that does a lot of American accents very well.
oh
I
no,
didn't notice a massive difference.
I it wasn't that it was bad. I was like, I don't know. In my brain, I was like, I feel like maybe I've seen him in something else recently, and it was throwing me off.
Maybe.
And my brain was just like, I don't feel like this is what he used to sound like. But maybe he did. Maybe it's just been a while.
No,
But
no, he sounded the same to me.
okay, probably
Um,
just me then.
yeah. I also loved the kind of his role in the film in like framing things in the sense the American government clearly wants to essentially invade Wakanda.
Well, yeah,
If they
America
could, they would walk in,
take
start
everything.
drilling, and take the vibranium.
Yeah, exactly.
But him as someone who's been there, seen how beautiful it is, seen how lovely everyone is, and had his life saved by them,
He owes them, and
he's literally committing treason
yeah,
because he knows that actually we're the bad guys here.
yeah. I
And
think
I think it goes along with the whole kind of overarching story of, hey, rest of the world, the first world, maybe look at yourselves and realize you're not so perfect.
yeah. I I think he's gonna be. I think in the future we're gonna see them try to invade Wakanda because they still blame them,
It,
and they
it, it, it's ready for Doctor Doom to pull some shit.
yeah, and I think it's gonna take Mark Freeman's character being like the pawn again in between to get things to not go too far the wrong way, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
But overall, I really love the film.
yeah.
Um, it was a beautiful way to end off Phase 4. Definitely one of the better Phase 4 projects as well.
Oh
For
yeah,
me personally, I'm probably only putting it behind Spider-Man. What else was
yeah,
Phase 4?
yeah.
Other
Doctor
Phase 4 films.
Strange.
I think Black
Um,
Panther in a lot of ways was better than Doctor Strange. It was
yeah, I
definitely
do.
better than Thor.
Yeah.
What else did we
Then
have?
his TV
Was another one.
shows.
Oh, Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi was good.
I might have Shang-Chi just above it. I might have it in third.
I'd say they're
But
similar
But
level.
at the beginning of the MCU in 2008, if you just said two of the three best projects in Phase 4 were going to be led by and almost exclusively an all non-white cast,
Yeah.
you'd be going, "Wow, that's a big step in the right direction." Um, and it shows what brilliant films and world building you can get when you let culture write and direct culture.
Yeah, it's from if you look back at the start of the MCU and now, like the representation's just so much better and come such a long way, and it's nice to see, and just in like a lot of different senses. But Phase 4, I know a lot of people have felt, oh, Phase 4's slow, there's not much going on. But when you actually like look back on it, there's a lot of good projects that have.
I feel like if you look at Phase 4, it just looks like a giant powder keg, and any one of the next 3 films is just gonna light the whole thing on fire.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think the only thing I wish Black Panther had had to wrap up Phase 4 was one of those post-credit scenes we like talked about a couple weeks back.
I
Just
agree, but having seen the one post-credit scene they had, I don't think they could have had that and another one.
no.
And I think that was probably what they probably filmed other ones, but then once they saw that one in there, they were like, "No, let's just leave it there."
I think what I partly think is whatever was the original script, because there is an original script with T'Challa,
Yeah.
like they would have had some plan of what they were going to probably like use to set up, and then because they've changed and had to redo things, that didn't feel right anymore. So, like you said, they stuck with what they did. One thing also wish is like we'd got that some point in the film got some hint towards Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
but I liked the Riri stuff, and I like how she's
Riri
gone.
was so good.
The the whole fact as well that she mentioned that, oh yeah, there's a whole YouTube channel based on my sightings. So there's like a lot of fun to be had there with this, and
And we've also got to remember she's at MIT where Ned and MJ are.
yeah, and she's got sent back, and now she has definitely got Wakanda funding, even if she is not explicit. Like they're definitely going to have sent her
They're
back
gonna
with
look
some.
after her, yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be there in some MIT class, being like, "Yeah, I've just made this vibranium. Where the fuck did you get that from?" uh,
I also like how explicitly they showed how genius she is. Like, oh,
yeah,
the Americans have a vibranium detector. Like the more said was like, no one has that. What the fuck are you talking about? He's like, go find the scientist, and it's like a student.
it's a student who
How long
made
did
it
it
for a
take you to build it? It's like
project.
2 months.
Yeah, she made it for a project, and then the CIA basically just came along and took it.
Yeah.
Um,
And
I,
do you know what the scariest thing is? That is definitely something that can really happen if you guys aren't aware. If you're a university student, you do something for a project, or you're working at a university with funding. At any point, legally, the army can come in, take your research, take your stuff, and use it for
Mhm,
whatever they want, and there's nothing you can do about it.
mhm. I
Which isn't
also
at all terrifying.
I loved when they were in the garage and she's like, "Don't touch anything," and then when the police rock up, she's like, "Oh for fuck, like really? I've just spent," and she starts ripping stuff down and burning it, and she's like, "Oh, I've got to get rid of everything now." um, and the fact that they fixed the car up was nice. I like that little
Yes.
sentimental
Yeah.
touch. Interested to
Um.
see the next suit she builds, though.
Yes. I like that we got a shitty version, then a really good version because she had access to Wakandan tech, and then she was like, "You can't take that with you." So then she's going to have to downgrade again because of her access, but we know what she has the ability to build
She's
now.
gonna downgrade, and then Shuri's gonna rock up whenever they rejoin. Shuri's just gonna rock up with the suit
Shiri
and be
has
like,
been
"You need this."
confirmed to be an Ironheart.
Oh, then she's obviously gonna rock up with it and go, "Right, I've got this gift for you. You've proved
Now
yourself
that
or
you've
something."
clearly decided to actually be a hero.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but I think that wraps up everything about Black Panther.
Yeah,
Um, and it's time to move on to the Nerd News Network.
it is
Have you
indeed.
got a jingle
I
sorted
haven't.
yet, Harry? You've had
No.
2 weeks? No? Okay.
No, no. Didn't know that was required. Uh,
Um, So first and foremost, it looks like the animated Spider-Man freshman year TV show's been cancelled.
Yes.
So
Which
the reports were that due to not DC, Disney
Disney.
trying to save some money,
Mm.
Spider-Man freshman year got the cut as it's Marvel content that isn't MCU related. It's the
Yeah.
easiest to get rid of.
Yeah, it's one of those where obviously the world knows this fucking economic situation every country's going through, and obviously every business is trying to be smart, even big ones like Disney. And unfortunately, things like this happen where money's got to be saved in places. And I think we both said when we found out the news, like it's one of those where it would have been cool to have. Um, is it a shame that it's got cancelled? Yes. Is it a big issue? Are we really that gutted? No, because it means MCU stuff's safe.
But also, it's an animated show, so they can pick it up again at a later
Yeah,
date if they want to.
like anything that's already been done for it can just be stored, and if they want to revisit, they can. Like it's not got the same issues of like a film being scrapped,
Yeah, it's not like you filmed like uh, half of a film and then you decide to stop,
and
and
then
you
new
can't pick it
actors.
up.
Yeah,
You can't pick it up 3 years later because everyone's a lot older. It's an animated show. Anything they've already got done, even if it's just scripts, they still own them scripts. They're not going to
yeah.
burn them. They'll put them somewhere, and then if they have money or a desire or a need for extra content, they
Mm.
can then pick it back up again.
And if they need
But
to,
for now,
they can
it's
change
been
voice
shelved.
actors. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
but
Um,
one of them.
and our next bit could be part of the reason they're trying to save money in other places. Um,
Yeah,
so as a result of Blade being a shit show,
which
it
we've
looks
talked about a
like
couple
Blade is
times.
now getting a full rewrite.
Which
So
I'm honestly
just
not
to
surprised.
just to give everyone a timeline of what's happened with Blade,
Mm.
it was being worked on. Then the news broke that apparently Mashar Ali was not happy with the script and the lack of action and how short it was.
Mm-hmm.
At which point the director left the production. Sam
Well,
Raimi was
left.
rumored to have joined.
Yes.
Although I think it wasn't the case of he joined and left. I do think he actually never joined. He was just rumored to have joined.
Yeah, or like
And
he
then
stepped in to look over
yeah.
things.
And then it looks like they did a deep dive on everything that was going on to work out what needed to be done to solve the project.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a huge delay announced for everything from Blade onwards
Yeah.
because Blade was slowing up production and things have to come out in the same order.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a new director in place whose name I didn't write down because I'm a fool. Let me grab that quickly. And they're doing a complete rewrite. They're going back to the
Which
drawing board. They're not happy with what's coming from it.
which obviously is probably what the delay was, and they just that news didn't come out when the delay news came out.
Yes.
I part of me wonders if the rumored of
It's Jan Demange,
okay,
who apparently did the show Lovecraft Country, which is apparently very popular, and the new script will be written by Michael Starbury.
okay. Well, I wonder if the rumored director we'd heard coming in might have been more Kevin. Obviously, has a lot on his plate, and maybe said to him, "Can you just look over everything and
How
assess
bad
it?
is it?
Yeah, assess what's going on and come back to me." And the news were like, "Oh, new director." But really, he was just like, he wasn't coming in as director, he was coming in just to assess it from a director's POV.
Um,
And it's one of them. I'd rather they scrapped everything and started afresh than trying to work around a script that was bad and tried to make good, because then that causes more issues than.
I completely agree. I don't know a lot about this new director based on what I'm seeing on the internet around feeling around his previous projects. He is a good director to go for a darker, grittier character.
Hmm.
So him being partnered with Blade means we may well be getting very, very good direction for a Blade project. and
Yes.
hopefully the script can allow them actors and them directors and production team to flourish.
I would imagine now, because of all this fiasco, you'll have had Kevin and Mashali have probably together picked the director so that both parties are happy. So I would imagine like this director won't have been picked just by one. Like this is good, must be a joint kind of decision. So if he's been picked that both parties are happy, then hopefully that is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hopefully the rewrite and everything doesn't delay things anymore. Hopefully that those delays that we've been told is due to this already. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
Hopefully they knew this was what the plan was. They just had to get the people in place.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully things go smoothly now and are on the up and up. I think, but overall, better decision than just trying to like jerry rig and tape up a script that was bad. So
exactly. The next bit of news for me, and I know for a lot of people, is heartbreakingly sad. Kevin Conroy, the voice actor of Batman for my entire life, passed away suddenly last weekend, aged 66.
Yeah, something like that. A week ago.
I woke up, I saw he was trending, I clicked on the trend, and I saw he'd passed, and I was genuinely kind of like stunned for like 5 minutes in disbelief. Because, I mean, 66 is not
that
old anymore.
No,
it's not. And there'd been no reports that he'd been particularly unwell or anything.
And I'm pretty sure he'd put like at Halloween he'd put out some video on social media being like the bats are out and whatnot, and like because it was definitely unexpected, and for someone of his age, and like to been like that voice for Batman for a lot of people for a long time.
He was a stunning voice actor. He was a proud gay man. He was one of the biggest believers in Comic-Con. He one of my favorite Kevin Conroy stories is he actually Warner Brothers banned him from going to Comic-Con for a little while, which caused a lot of friction. And eventually they came to an agreement where he could go, but only if a Warner Brothers representative sitting next to him to shut him up if he was talking too much. And basically this was because he was also the voice of Batman in the Arkham games. And he got asked about is he going to be the voice of Batman in the next Arkham game? And he was like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about that. They're like, oh, well, it's been announced. And he was like, oh, okay, well then, if it's been announced, yes, I can confirm why I'm Batman. And they went, sweet, so you're going to be voicing Batman in Batman Arkham Origins. And he went, Batman Arkham what? Because he'd actually been working on Batman Arkham Knight. So he leaked Batman Arkham Knight was being made, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, got him in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And he was temporarily banned from
I love that.
going to Comic-Con. And he loved a Comic-Con. He went to all of them.
Sounds like a Tom Holland story.
Yeah, very much so. But also, I saw a clip that I'd never seen before. So for one of the CW shows, I think it was Crisis on Infinite Earths, he got to play an old Bruce Wayne.
Oh.
In live action.
That's cool.
And there was a behind-the-scenes video of him. And he was like, I always wanted to play Batman in live action. And I always thought there was a chance. But then I kind of aged out of the role. What I didn't realize was I'd aged perfectly into the role of old Bruce Wayne. So then he's in his costume, which includes like a mechanical back brace because Bruce Wayne's obviously beaten down and broken from years of crime fighting. And you've got him in there in his suit doing a little dance, getting ready to do a scene because he's so happy that he gets to bring this character to life himself for the first time.
So great.
But yeah, it's so sad. Mark Hamill has like told a number of stories about him because obviously they worked together a lot with Mark Hamill being the voice of the Joker for so long.
Yeah.
So he only had beautifully complimentary things to say of him.
I can imagine.
And it's going to be weird. I think I think I sent it to you on TikTok, Rory. I might not have. I saw a beautiful kind of comic panel designed
Yes.
of Jim Gordon going up to the roof, and he said to Batman, "You've been rather quiet tonight." And Batman
Writing on a note.
writes him a little note, and he goes, "Can't say anything. I've lost my voice." And then Jim goes, "Yeah, I heard. I'm so sorry. If you need anything, let me know." And I think that's kind of obviously heartbreakingly sad, but it's kind of beautiful in the sense of so many people grew up watching Batman cartoons of some description. So many people played the Batman Arkham games, which is all his voice.
Yeah.
And he loved this character so much, and he did such a good job, and he gave his everything for it. So he will be very deeply missed.
He will indeed. He will.
But
keeping
that
on
brings
DC.
us, more DC news. James Gunn and the businessman-y person whose name I've forgotten, say that their DC roadmap is nearly done.
Yes.
And one of the big quotes, one of the big quotes taken is there won't be 4 Batmen, which I only take to mean, yes, we're streamlining it, we're bringing it down to one easy to understand universe.
Yes, same.
The issue with that is the obvious option is to continue the DCEU and just tidy it up. But where does that leave Robert Pattinson and Joaquin Phoenix? And the fact that apparently both of them scripts are well. I mean, we know the Joker 2 script is done.
I think
the Batman 2 script's being worked on.
I think those are, like we discussed, I think a couple of weeks back as well, or a few weeks back, that they will continue because there's a second one already been worked on. They are going to be very much standalone. While they're saying there's not going to be 4 Batman, that doesn't mean we're getting a Batman in DCEU anytime soon.
Right.
Like, we've talked about the fact that they should, in our opinion, should go with different characters to start things off, and kind of Superman be the one that is like the known central, and use some other characters to kind of build things up. Batman could come in a good few years down the line, way past when Matt Reeves is Batman and that is done. But I kind of hope it stays that. I hope they stay separate and they find a way to do that. But I guess if they do bring him in, the Joaquin Phoenix thing, I think the musical is very much going to prove that that's going to be a separate thing.
Do you want to know what my best guess is?
Go on.
We're going to get news in a week or two that Flash have been delayed by another 6 weeks as it goes under more edits to become a hard reset.
Yeah.
So that James Gunn has free reign.
Possibly.
Or, like, they know they can get that edit done in time and they're just going to release it on whatever what is the current release date?
I don't even know anymore.
Flash
is there one?
Film. I think there is maybe.
I think the more maybe. I don't think there is.
June 23rd, 2023.
Okay, so it's another
that film was supposed
months.
to come out in 2021, by the way.
Jesus.
No.
I think a big takeaway from this as well, though, is the fact that they said they have a roadmap almost all locked up. I'm interested to know the scope of this roadmap. Like, are we talking just phase 1? If we're going off like MCU terms, are we just talking just phase 1, first few films?
Is it a 2, 5, 10, 25 year roadmap?
Yeah, what, like, is this like they've got an overarching story idea and a roadmap in place of like where this is going? Or are we talking like setup roadmap for the new
Yeah,
DCEU.
this is our first 3 years. We're gonna release 4 films.
This is what we're setting up, and we'll figure
Yeah.
it out from there.
It'll
But
be
I
very
think it's going to be a
interesting.
bigger scope than that, because I think James Gunn, coming from working on MCU stuff and seeing what Kevin's built, like, will have an understanding that Kevin has planned very far ahead. And
I guess it depends if this roadmap is gonna be a hard roadmap, or if they're
yeah,
gonna be very clear that it's subject to change. If it's not subject to change, it will probably only be like 4 years at most. Um, if they do have a fair bit of wiggle in it, it could be a 8 to 10 year roadmap.
yeah, 8 to 10. This is the overarching story that we are going to go into, and here's the first few set in stone things, and then here's where the rough outline of where things are going to go.
Yeah. Here's what
And
we've already green lighted.
like, they've obviously agreed, like, there's not going to be 4 Batman. They want that continuity throughout. It'll be interesting. Hopefully, like we keep saying, like, we're very unsure on DC because they've not proved themselves, but hopefully this is them starting to be able to prove they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Let's compete. They've dominated the animated film market for as long as I can think. Let's see them bring some of that know-how to the live action space.
Exactly. Now your
Now
favorite bit of news.
a really interesting one that's had my mind racing.
So, do you remember how I mentioned, what if you were like, certain actors are too old, that we've brought up many a time for Fantastic Four? And I said, well, what if they've already been around? And we've both agreed that does bring up the issue of where the fuck have they been. But the rumor is that we're going to get a Fantastic Four set in the 60s.
Yeah. So the rumor is they're going to be set in the 60s and then they're going to be displaced. Now, are you ready for why my mind's been racing?
Okay.
You remember there's the actor from A Good Place
Yes.
set to be in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Yes.
And there were rumors suggesting he could be Reed Richards, and I went, I don't think that's true, because why would Reed Richards be in the quantum realm? Well, now we have a reason why he could potentially be in the quantum realm.
And where the fuck they've been. Well, where at least he's been.
That, I mean, fall into the quantum realm in the 60s. You're in there, you're fighting Kang and stuff.
Look at the style of the TVA.
5 years. You've been there for 70. Like, it'll be interesting. My big issue would be, and I say big issue, nitpicky issue. There would have been some kind of reference with the scientific minds we have to, hey, do you remember them 4 scientists that just disappeared in the 60s?
So here's my thought on that little nitpicky thing. What if, because we don't know if the quantum realm goes across multiverses, if it's the same quantum realm connecting.
I would assume not.
So each one's got its own. Okay, so I was about to make a suggestion that I because my thought was, what if he is from a different multiverse and the Reed Richards in ours never was a scientist or whatever, and he got stuck in the quantum realm and that's why he's never mentioned. But we also have thought in the past on whether there's different TVAs and different, so that would mean quantum realms are linked to the multiverse they're in, or the universe they're in. It does prove because also there's the fact of, like, okay, if this is Reed Richards and he's been stuck in the quantum realm, where the fuck have the other 3 been? Like, where are they stuck that we haven't yet heard about them? Because quantum realm I can kind of get behind, like, we really know fuck all about it, we haven't explored it, but we've been all over fucking space now.
They at Marvel, they seem to be obsessed with the quantum realm. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I'm wondering if they go, because we know based on Janet's concern in the trailer that the quantum realm's a bit of a kooky place.
Yeah, and
Instead of it being a space mission that gives them powers, you could argue they got trapped in the quantum realm for so long, having gone in there in the 60s,
mhm,
that it's altered them and given them their abilities. I'm okay with
yeah,
that.
rather than the space.
But I just, because it's not even like, oh, well, they weren't famous, so why would anyone have spoken about them? We live in the real world. People who aren't already famous go missing, and it is headline news for a long time. I
My
feel like if 4 scientists were to go missing, your Bruce Banners, your Tony Starks would have been curious as to what they were working on. Just like, oh, they went missing. What were they working on? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Oh,
I
I can definitely see how they might make it work. I just feel like this could be a bit,
they're gonna have to be
unless they
careful.
make it some kind of like shield cover up.
Well, this is what I was gonna say. Like, there was a lot. If you think back to like Tony Stark's dad and the stuff he was working on, Tony didn't know anything about that. And like even the atom being hidden in that map, like that stuff is from like if Shield has like hidden it sort of in plain eye, some of this stuff, or like really covered it up, um,
What if they
then
go that they were shield scientists in the 60s, and then they were working on something with the Tesseract,
yeah,
and then they went missing? We might have some options there,
mm-hmm.
but I don't think they'd want to go back to the Tesseract.
No, I don't know if they'll link it to the
Shield is their best
Tesseract
bet.
though. I think yeah,
Shield is
I
their
think
best bet.
Shield's their best bet. I think they could very easily um they've got to be careful because then like surely what's is it what's the original Ant-Man guy, old man?
Hank. That's
Hank.
literally what I was about to say. We've seen a flashback of Hank punching Tony in not Tony, Tony's dad in the face, um,
Mm-hmm.
while working for Shield. Young Reed Richards, even if they made him so he was super young while working at Shield, would have riled up Hank. If he'd have gone missing, Hank would have made reference to him.
Yeah. That's what I was just thinking. I was like, Hank was back then as well. And like if even like if it was separate, then he like somehow his research into the quantum stuff would have overlapped in some way.
Unless they make it. Oh, what if they make it like Reed was Hank's protege and
After Hank
Reed
left.
Reed like fucked up, and him and Sue and Johnny and Ben all got sucked in, and Hank just
Well,
doesn't talk about it because it's like his great shame.
what if Hank left, didn't he? Because he didn't want to.
Yeah,
What if it's like after he left,
Reed
Shield,
picked up his
Shield were
research.
like, right, here you go, figure out this. They tried to figure it out, fucked up and disappeared. So then Shield's like, oh shit, maybe we don't fuck with this.
I don't know if the timeline lines up. It could do. It might do. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not sure if it does. If the timeline does line up for that, that might be their best bet. But again, this is all speculation. This could be a complete red herring.
Yeah.
Just so that we're off on the wrong tangent.
Well,
so that Marvel get to do their favorite. I didn't see that coming.
Well, let's be honest. In 2 months, we're going to know because production starts in January, and we know
if
photos
they
are
manage
leak.
to if they manage to avoid leaks from this set,
no, they're not.
I'll be baffled.
They're not. Some photo is going to leak February, mid-February. I'm going to predict we're going to get some photo. We'll have some photo, whether it's some set and there's no actors or something like that gives away like the theme, if that makes sense.
Oh my god! I just realised what the bait is. It is set in the 60s, but the characters are not from the 60s. They are from the present day. They accidentally get transported back, and the film is them in the 60s trying to get back.
Because they fucked around with quantum shit. That could actually be.
It is set in the 60s, but they're from the modern day. Yeah, that'd be a brilliant bait and switch.
It would, because we've totally been taking this as the whole thing.
It starts in the 60s. It doesn't have to.
That's true. That's very true.
We'll see. But it's
I
interesting
think
nonetheless.
Ant-Man's gonna set something up for this.
Okay, here's the problem, Hori, and I 100% agree. We've said this for like the last 3 projects now.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, Connor.
It might be possible that we are a bit too horny for the Fantastic Four.
Maybe it'll be Loki season 2.
Just every time it's not that project, and then before we know it, the next project's gonna be Fantastic Four. It's like, well, it's got to be now.
Well, do you know what it's gonna be? We're thinking all these like the big main projects. It's gonna be like What If season 2. There's just gonna be some
people to watch season 2.
Yeah, there's just gonna be one of the What If ones is actually gonna be set as our world. And then everyone will be like, oh, they're mentioning Fantastic Four in What If, but they can't in the MCU. But then they're like, haha, this was all
debated.
Just at the end of season 2 of What If, there's a random MCU post-credit scene. Just totally unrelated. But yeah.
This brings us on, however, to our superhero showdown.
Yes, it does.
It's very simple. Is Ultron versus Kingpin. Advantage goes to Kingpin, even though it's basic rules with neutral environment, bloodlusted, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot think of a single advantage to give Kingpin where he does not lose.
I don't know, maybe I don't know about helping him to win. But like,
put it this way, Kingpin is a street level threat. Don't get me wrong, he's the top end of street level. But Spider-Man and Daredevil routinely take him down by themselves.
Yeah.
Ultron is an Avengers level threat at all times.
Yes. I think even him knowing who Ultron is, like even if he knew how to rip him apart.
Yeah, I just don't think he can.
I think you're right. Like I think the advantage we can give Kingpin is confidence.
A quick and painless death.
Oh, I was thinking more just the confidence that he thinks he can win on top of his bloodlust. But yeah, unfortunately,
it's a
like
curb
you say,
stomp.
It's Avengers level versus street level, and that's just never gonna go street level way. It just never is.
I couldn't agree more.
And Ultron of all of them as well. Like,
yeah,
it's
I'm right there with you.
Unfortunate, but I do believe Kingpin gets stomped 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Which makes that a very quick and easy superhero showdown this week.
It does.
I don't think we'll have any quarrels in the comments.
I'd be amazed if we do.
You never know. There might be a Kingpin fanatic.
Maybe there is one person who religiously listens to the superhero showdowns, and so far he's agreed with all of them, and he's just waiting for that one episode where he can go after us.
Yeah, he loves Kingpin.
Maybe he's going to decide this is the one.
And thinks Ultron's just a child's robot.
Yeah, maybe. But there we go. That is our bish bash bosh done. We're making some ways through the old superhero showdown bracket here.
We are.
We've got one more in the Marvel villains, and then we move on to DC heroes, which is going to be good.
Yeah, that'll be good. So what's the last?
The last Marvel villains to create the Marvel villains final, which gets left for a later date, is Super Skrull versus Juggernaut.
Okay, that should be interesting.
Very, very fun. It will. As always, thank you for hanging out. I have no idea if there's any new content for next week.
This is a good point. We have no Star Wars.
No films.
No films.
We're going to have to come up with genuine talking points where we engage our brain. I already have one, if that makes you feel any better.
What new show can we start for next week? Like, now we are including...
Not me desperately sending Kevin Feige an email to drop some new content right this second.
Yeah, can you please... Wait, when's Guardians Christmas special out?
I doubt it's going to be out in November.
I've seen a lot of people talking about it recently.
Guardian Galaxy Christmas special, television film, uh, release date. Give me my information. November 25th.
I thought
Tomorrow.
it was coming out. Yeah, I thought it was coming out soon because I was seeing some like early reviews.
We definitely fucked up by not including our final thoughts on that. Oh well. Well, we'll have that to discuss next week at least.
We talked about it a couple of weeks back.
Yeah. It also gives us an extra week to come up with as many talking points as possible.
And how Santa Claus is going to be included in the future MCU because obviously he's.
Yeah, I need to start doing my Christmassy character profiles. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la.
Maybe we should, if we run out of content on the run up to December, we'll watch the Star Wars. Or is it Star Wars Family Guy? Star Wars Family Guy one.
No, there was an infamous Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, it had like Chewbacca's wife and stuff. It was wild. How do I view it?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, there's an illegal version on YouTube by the looks of it, which we definitely will not watch.
No.
We could find a way to watch that for a funny throwback to what the fuck was the world, because I've heard lots about that. Anyway, we're waffling.
We are, but that's the outro for you.
It is. Thank you very much for watching episode 43. Wild. Like, subscribe, comment.
Yeah.
Click all the buttons, see what happens. Not a report one. Ignore that one. We know what that one does.
We are back to our regularly scheduled broadcasting.
Yes. We are healthy. We are here. We are alive. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.